Chapter 68, Detention. Lily sat on Garen's bed, surrounded by all of his belongings, guarded by men pledged to protect her, and yet never had she felt so alone. Her solitude gave her time to reflect, and just like the storm front that rolled into Hiawatha County, tears of regret began to pour down her cheeks. He met me, and I ruined his life. 2 hours earlier, Lily had watched her gallant knights ride from the castle on their private quests. Martin Nielsen had departed for the southern shore of Lake Manitou to gather a private posse of local men who could be trusted. Like a blond Paul Revere, he would ride down Old Copper Road until he reached the Forsberg farm, where they would gather in force. Bjorn Forsberg and Garen had left for the eastern shore of Lake Manitou, where the Swedes kept a rowboat that would allow Garen access to Deadwood Island. General Bacon spooked Little Toad, Garen had earlier explained. We separated the head of the snake from his body of followers. If we can stop him now, things might be better controlled. So her knights had scattered across the kingdom, leaving Paul Whitewolf armed on the front porch and the rest of the adults patrolling the school grounds. Whitewolf refused to look at her, especially after what she'd done earlier. I can't believe I did that in front of everyone. By the light of the lantern, Lily paced around the room, but when she ventured out into the main office, Whitewolf sent her retreating with a simple, "Stay away from the window. I don't want you seen." Which means he doesn't want to look at me either. Lily wiped at her cheeks. It had happened so unexpectedly. As soon as Garen slid off his horse, she'd rushed up, thrown her arms around him in relief, but as he pulled away in sight of everybody, her lips kissed his cheek. While the priest acted as if nothing had happened, and as everyone exchanged information, Lily withered upon seeing Whitewolf, hands on hips, shaking his head, pointing back to the office building. Is this why the apparitions know me as Lily Garen? Am I destined to marry him? Oh God, why do I keep ruining everything? Lightning lit the sky, and a roll of thunder had her jumping at the noise. A gust of wind made the structure creak, and a moment later, rain began to pound against the small pane of glass. Her head turned when a flash of lightning filled the room. McGeesey is out there somewhere. Will they burn him, or use his blood? She turned her face to her bed's lone pillow and tried to smother her fears. What am I supposed to do, Grandmother Spider? Guide me, show me the path of the future where I can fix this mess. Thunder and lightning exploded simultaneously as the big oak outside the office broke in half, and a branch crashed into the back wall of the building, hitting it with the force of a freight train. Lily stepped out into the cold rain. I'm coming. Chapter 69, The 72 Colt. Father Jean-Nicolas Guérin slowed his horse to a trot and flipped over the leather latch of his holster. A covered wagon parked on the Split Rock Bridge. Lantern cast shadows. A lantern light. A lantern cast shadows upon the tarp. What's wrong? Bjorn Forsberg asked as his horse grew even. I shouldn't have risked his life. It's a checkpoint. Stay here, wait for me to pass by, and then come through on your own. Tell them you were hunting and got home late. Understand? The boy nodded and obeyed. Gene spurred his horse toward the bridge. 4 armed men stepped out of the wagon holding shotguns and lanterns. State your business. Father Guérin. I've just returned from Leech Lake with news. It's that Jesuit priest. The sentry mumbled. One threw back the hood of his rain jacket to reveal Constable Graham. You're just back from Leech Lake? What's happening? It's a bit of a mess, Gene admitted. A mess I made. He gave a muddied account of what sparked the riot at Enigum during the annuity distribution, and then he downplayed the violence that happened later on Bear Island. He made no mention of the Ouijigan zealots, but instead focused on how General Bacon had arrived to bring law and order to the situation. "Why are you in Split Rock?" Constable Graham questioned. "Shouldn't you be up there negotiating with the two sides?" Little Toad has McGeesy. "Yes, in fact, that's why I've returned. I have correspondence from Washington that should aid in the negotiations. If the violence is indeed over, I want to be prepared to help negotiate the peace." "We've heard rumors of insurrection spreading to other communities." "Simply rumors," Jean countered quickly. "You might be a priest, but we know you're an Indian lover too. If anything happens here in our community, I know who to blame. Trust me, I'm here to stop a lynch mob as much as you." "I understand. By morning, I'll be riding back north to Leech Lake to help settle this." Jean rode by the checkpoint, turned his horse up the hill toward the church, but once out of sight, he doubled back to head down Market Street, where Bjorn already appeared. Together they rode to the south end of town, crossed the trestle bridge, and explained everything to Gus Forsberg, who immediately understood the combustible situation. As Gus went out to Old Copper Road to join Martin Nielsen's attempt to gather allies, Bjorn led Jean to the shore where the boat was kept. Bjorn carried an unlit lantern, and the two huddled under the boughs of a pine tree while they waited for the others. Across the channel, Deadwood Island loomed silent and sinister. Even though the cold October weather numbed his skin, he could still feel the spot where Lily had kissed him. "I didn't mean to mislead her." Just like in Manila and Havana, everything is now unraveling. His fingers slid inside of his jacket to hold his pistol. The .72 Colt open-top revolver had come into the world the same time he had, and it had traveled with him around the world. He'd faced danger in the Philippines and Cuba, but those were political threats. Now, a child's life was in danger, and another, Bjorn, followed him into the madness. Bjorn Forsberg squinted at the island, not saying a word. Where are the adults? Why didn't I send Bjorn to gather the others? He knew the flawed plan. Martin Nielsen rode southwest to the Crane farm before moving onward, spreading the word that help was needed. Waiting on Old Copper Road, Gus Forsberg would then lead them to the rowboat. What am I doing here? From one of General Bacon's steamships, Jean had seen Little Toad's canoe leave Bear Island, but with Chief Sweatingstone and dozens of other Chippewas still on the island, the single canoe was ignored by the soldiers during the fracas. Constable Gordon was right. My duty to the Jesuit order is back at Leech Lake. Am I doing this because of a promise I never made, or am I trying to impress Lily? His fingers felt the revolver's chamber, which had 6 bullets. Although Little Toad was an old man, his henchmen were young and strong. From Nielsen and Forsberg's account, there had not been more than a handful of zealots heading for the island. This is my mess, and I should deal with it. Bjorn and the others can make sure no one gets off the island. Long before Lily confirmed his worst fears, Jean understood the nature of the Ouijigan as well as the Order of Eos. His puppet masters had chosen the mask for the orphan boy to wear, but he placed it on his face with full awareness of the lie. We need to understand, the puppet masters had said back in Georgetown Hospital. Discover the truth about Lake Manitou. Now a madman had McGeesy and threatened more than the boy's life. Jean moved his hand from his pistol to his neck, tugging at his priestly collar, until he ripped it free and threw it onto the wet ground. I just can't sit here and wait, he muttered. Stay here with the rowboat and lantern. I'm going ahead to scout the situation. Standing, he stripped off his wool trench coat, removing the Colt 1972 open top from its holster. Shouldn't we wait? Not answering, Jean stepped out of his riding boots. He double-checked that his knife was strapped to his other leg. One way or another, this is the end of Father Guerin. He glanced down at the remains of his former self. His first steps sunk the collar in the mud. Time to become what I was born to be. Stay here until the others arrive, no matter what you hear, Jean commanded as he walked away from Bjorn before he could reply. Although the wild rice fields were thick south of the island, the water still remained shallow despite the slight current that flowed around the inside of the island. At first, the water was warmer than the air, but soon the cold water pierced deep down to his core. 100 yards from shore, Jean began kicking a strange sideways backstroke that allowed to keep his head and pistol above water. But as he grew closer, he saw flickers of light coming from the center of the island. The others can't be witness to this. I have to do this myself. Crawling ashore, Jean heard the first harmonic syllables on the wind. He tucked tight to a tree, holding his pistol against his chest. The light from where the sound emanated turned out to be several small torches stuck in the ground. What? He saw McGeesy stretched out with cords, held down with spikes in the ground. Poor kid, looks like he's being crucified. Above McGeesy, Joseph Littletoad shook his rattles and sang to the storm, while the rest of the painted Ouija zealots watched with slack jaws and wide eyes. It's happening. Not in another decade. Not in another 150 years. It's happening now. Jean carefully cocked back the hammer for a quick first shot and readied himself. From the edge of the camp, he stepped fully into the light with a drawn pistol. God forgive me. The first bullet hit Joseph Littletoad squarely in the chest, knocking him off his feet. The next two bullets struck the heads of the closest men, advancing to the four remaining men. Jean waited for one of them to scramble after a weapon before firing his fourth bullet into the man's torso. When the man nearest to McGeesy made a move, Jean squeezed off his fifth bullet before standing between McGeesy and the last two zealots. Both men froze, terrified, unsure of what he'd do next. 5 bullets, 5 men killed. But 2 remained, even though they had probably done the math yet. Jean leveled the pistol at their faces, taking turns to which looked down the barrel. I can't let either of them live. One look into their rain-streaked skull faces told Jean all he needed. These men will not surrender. He reached for his knife. Father Guerin, a voice called out from the shore. Where are you? Too soon, Bjorn, too soon. Yet the uncertainty of knifing a man to death caused him to delay instead of act. He lost his nerve. Over here, Jean shouted, gun extended. Over there, I see light. Another man came through the bush. Jean knew the second voice immediately. It wasn't the voice of Forsberg or Nielsen. The voice belonged to Constable Graham. And the figure beside him was also unmistakable. Marshal Bushy Bill Morrison. Didn't Morrison track the Ouija gun all the way from Leech Lake? Or did he leave shortly after I left? Now the remaining zealots were outnumbered. Good Lord, Gordon Graham said when he saw the scene. Put a gun over on those 2 there, Jean instructed, taking his eyes off the 2 to look at McGeesy. A 6th shot filled the air, with a flash of crimson joining it where Gordon Graham's head had once been. Jean's pistol immediately went back to the 2 zealots, who shared a look of confusion. Both were still unarmed. And then there was nothing but pain as Jean spun and fell face first into the mud. Wowzers, that was good. The summons. Not a storm. Magic unleashed. Von Chevriel's ears still rang after the shockwave finished echoing across the campus of Turtle Island Jesuit School. The lightning that split the big oak tree in half left red embers where it had passed. A large branch rested against the superintendent's office, crumbling the brick wall. A moment later, Lily had stepped over the fallen branches to run toward the wooded ravine of the Blue Knife River. She's going for the water drum. Now, Paul Whitewolf stood looking at the tree, and a dozen adults converged around it, including the headmistress of the girls' dorm. Sensing her opportunity, Fawn opened the window, climbed out backwards, and then dropped to the ground unseen. Lily needs me. She ran into the darkness wearing nothing but her nightgown. When she had closed her eyes to sleep hours earlier, she had seen the battle with clarity. The Tokpai gathered together at Deadwood Island with the souls of the dead and the Jibe rising from the depths of Lake Manitou like moths drawn to the flame. Now, awake, alert, Fawn ran into the darkness, seeing nothing except the occasional trunk of a tree. Why does Lily run away from the fight? McGeesey is in the other direction. A dragging noise provided the answer. It stopped quickly, replaced by the sound of Fawn's own lungs. Lily? Oh, thank God it's you. Fawn advanced to the sound of her voice. Near the river, the canopy of trees parted, allowing the flickering lightning to show her where Lily stood, beside Big Squeak's birch-bark canoe. Without even asking, Fawn took hold of one of the ends and helped to drag it to the water's edge. In the distance, White Wolf began calling Lily's name. She set her end down, but it was not the call that stopped her. At first, Fawn didn't understand what was wrong. No, Lily muttered. It's done. They finished it. What? The water. The canoe was stored on the top of the ravine, yet there had not been a steep descent. If it was magic that caused the entire water to rise up to kill them all. Oh, the dam. They closed the dam earlier in the week, Lily reminded. The reservoir is filled up because of the rains. We can portage around the dam. No, that's not the point. It'll be lost. Voices grew near. Climb in, we need to go. Obeying, Fawn began paddling from the front of the canoe, giving her a view of the changed river. With each paddle, she began to understand what had been lost. There were no rocks or boulders, nor did the current pull her along through the tight channels. The dam had been closed, filling the ravine with 40 feet of placid water. Do you hear that? Lily asked in a whisper. Fawn stopped paddling and shook her head. What is it? I heard a boy's voice. McGeesey? No, it came from... Lily looked over the side of the canoe, and Fawn prepared herself to be devoured by some dark, terrible water monster when she looked to. But she didn't see anything but the dark surface. What did you hear? I heard the word clay, and when I looked down, I could see them. See what? The two brothers in our canoe. They're looking for it also. We need to follow them. This is insane, Fawn thought, but obediently obeyed, paddling so that Lily could navigate. Lily kept her gaze on the water as if following a school of fish. Finally, they veered toward the shore, and Fawn immediately knew where she was. The big, bald stone marked the place where they had built the sweat lodge for Lily's vision quest. It had been the visible landmark showing the line between Sweet Winnie's property and Crazy Nana Conan's property. A short distance away, the charred cabin remained, along with the concrete monstrosity of the roaring dam. After getting out of the canoe, Lily frantically turned back toward the river. Fawn had no other choice but to join her, blind to the hysteria. This is like being in a dream while awake. They found it. They led me right to it. I can see them down below, climbing out of the rocks, Lily said in awe. Do you remember the blue vitriol in the rocks? They can see it. They know where the cave is. The cave. Fawn stared into the water, but still saw nothing. But then, closing her eyes, she saw two brothers climbing out of a canoe identical to the one beached at the top of the ravine. Through the rumbles of thunder and the roar of the wind buffeting the pines, she heard a faint voice speaking. "Right over there in the rocks. It's blue, just like you said. Pewabik." Fawn realized the voice was coming from deep within the water below her. Her eyes opened, and she looked down. She saw a boy that appeared to be the same age as Lily, and the other was in front of the canoe, pointing to the same place where McGeesy had once hunted for the horned serpent. The boy is buried by 30 feet of water. Buried by water. Began to climb up the rocky slopes toward them. "What do we do?" Fawn took Lily's hand in terror and anticipation. "We let them show us the way. We've seen him before in my visions. He's the boy from the future." Fawn looked back down. The younger boy stayed at the canoe while the older boy climbed toward them. The young man had Father Guerin's lean face with a leather headband to keep his long hair out of his eyes, which made him look like Lily's father. He wore strangely painted blue jeans and a black shirt with a meaningless word Metallica written upon it. Is that Latin? He swung his eyebrows around his knees as he sat, tapping his gray snakeskin boots nervously. "I know where the water drum can be found," he said aloud. "I can help you save him. It's over here." The younger, short-haired boy stopped, standing on the rubble pile just below the cave. Lily whispered to Fawn, "Are you seeing this?" Fawn nodded. "This is happening too fast." "Do you trust him?" "Something seems wrong." Unable to discern why she felt worried, Fawn nodded again. Taking a deep breath, Lily let go of her hand and pushed herself off the granite ledge. She fell neck deep into the water. Lily found herself sitting with the apparition of the young man, who also looked down at Lily, but instead of speaking to her, he spoke to the younger apparition in the water. "I need you to lead Lily back down to the cave." The boy's head frantically looked around him. "I need you to do this, Joey. I need you to go in there first," the older boy said. Joey, the name spoken by the spiders to Lily. "I'm scared, Levi." Levi, the other great-grandson. This is a vision from the future. "Don't be," Levi said. "I'm doing this to protect you. I'd never let anything bad happen to you. Now, go down there and crawl into that cave." When he dove, Lily vanished into the water, leaving Fawn alone with the older boy's spirit. For several minutes, Fawn sat shivering, trying to control her senses. Finally, she controlled her fears to ask, "Why are you here?" "I'm closing the loop that Lily created. She called out for help, and we answered. What choice do I have? If I deny her, she fails and my world crumbles away." He paused, his expression hardening. "I need your help, though." "Me?" Fawn clarified, surprised. A fresh wave of fear ran through her when she nodded. "I don't have time to explain now, but we have to help her and stop her all at the same time." "Why?" "Lily is about to doom us all, for in victory she will bring defeat." Fawn looked down to the dark, still water. I think I've known that for a while now, but I know and love Lily. I don't know anything about the strange young man." Aloud she asked, "What is happening to her?" "My brother helped her find the opening to the cave, which has an air pocket. Our ancestors hid something in it long ago, and Lily needs it to fight the Wintermaker. I couldn't find any other way but to let it come true." He sighed. "She has to find it." A moment later, Lily appeared, struggling to swim and gasping for air as she broke the surface. She carried something heavy at her side, which she set down upon the ground. "What is it?" Fawn asked. Lily and the young man Levi answered simultaneously, "The water drum." A moment later, Lily caught her breath and returned to her spot beside Fawn, setting the wrapped object between her feet. "What are you going to do?" Fawn asked. "I need your help," Lily explained. "I need the rest of the Song of the Manitou, the parts that Grandfather never taught me." More ghosts? Fawn wondered. "How can you learn something that was lost?" Levi was the one who answered this time. "In the future, the Song of the Manitou is found. You can call out to the one who finds it. She knows what you need." "Who is she?" Lily asked. "She was waiting for me now under the willow." Levi said, glancing briefly at Fawn. I don't like that. "She found me under the willow," Levi said, glancing briefly at Fawn. "She told me what would happen in the future, and she told me that you must hear the lost verses to save your loved ones. Do you want me to call her?" Fawn looked away. "What does he mean by in victory she will bring us defeat? Am I supposed to stop Lily?" "Yes, call her for me," Lily said. A moment later, another apparition sat beside the young man in snakeskin boots. Fawn saw a woman in her 30s, with the side of her head shaved, with a gruesome pink scar around her brow. Where the right eye should have been, she saw a smooth patch of skin. On her chest, she wore a strange emblem of a mighty bird, the great thunderbird. "I need you to teach her the secrets of the water drum," Levi said to the scarred woman. "Sing the missing verses to Lily so she can save him." "McGeesy? Has something happened to McGeesy?" And then the boys vanished over the edge of the cliff and into the waters of the Blue Knife. "Wait, you didn't tell me what to do. You said Lily would doom us." The scarred woman sighed. "I'll teach you the missing verses of the Song of the Manitou," the woman began. "You will be able to save him today, but you will only delay the inevitable." Is this what Levi meant, the inevitable doom? "I love him," Lily said. Is she talking about McGeesy or Father Garin? The woman nodded. "If I teach you the rest of the song, you will have to swear an oath." "Anything, whatever you want." The wounded woman cackled, her laughter spilling out of her paralyzed mouth. "It isn't an oath to me." "It'll be an oath to the Wintermaker." "I'll do anything." Fawn winced. "Oh, Lily, you can't possibly mean that." Despite the woman's misshapen mouth, soon lyrics came from her lips, and as she sang, Fawn could feel the stone grow warmer and warmer at Lily's feet. Then it began to pulse. Thump, thump, thump. Fawn thought she understood why it was called a water drum. Thump, thump, thump. And then she realized the stone had begun to beat like a heart. It was a heart. My God. "Lily, what are you doing?" Chapter 69, Magic from the Dawn. McGeesy Asabakashi lay spread eagle upon the muddy sand, his hands and feet bound with leather straps tied to stakes pounded into the wet earth. Surrounding him, his abductors sat in positions representing the different clans of creation, with Joseph Littletoad conducting the ritual. In front of the old sorcerer, an ornate water drum echoed, calling out to the spirits in Lake Manitou. He doesn't have the real water drum, McGeesy told himself, trying to give himself an emotion other than terror. He doesn't have the ironwood scrolls or the sacred shell. Yet with each passing minute, the situation grew worse. No, Joseph Littletoad did not have the full song, but as a surviving member of the Ouijigan clan, he'd inherited some of it, and from what he gleaned from Lily, he had enough. He's calling out to the Takpai. Back at Leech Lake, Littletoad had put McGeesy through the same ritual, strapping him to the earth, thumping the water drum, and singing the verses of the Song of the Manitou. While the ancient magic did summon a storm, Littletoad's belief that Leech Lake's bare island was the seventh stopping place was wrong. The shells, McGeesy had thought. The sacred Migi shells will guide the way. Littletoad's blunder had become obvious, and for a brief moment, McGeesy thought the ordeal had ended. A platoon of U.S. soldiers had marched right up to their ritual, but instead of saving him or arresting Littletoad, they froze for a few moments before retreating from where they'd come. That was 2 days ago, and now Littletoad understood his mistake in choosing Leech Lake. This time, he thumped his drum and sang the old words. The magic responded. The stars did not shine, and just like Leech Lake, the old conjurer summoned another storm to blanket the sky, hiding the deeds from the eyes of heaven. What about the Serpent Star? Nanak had been emphatic. The Wintermaker can only be defeated at a time when the Serpent Star returns. McGeesy turned his head away from the vacant heavens, pressing his cheek against the mud to witness 8 foul creatures climbing out of the depths of Lake Manitou. His body shivered uncontrollably, both from the cold and terror. Like a curious wolf pack, the Takpai approached. Lily had woken them while he'd been away at Morris, and since then, each death along the shores of the lake strengthened them to the point where they now glistened with oily quills and rippled with paranormal strength as they circled around the humans he'd called out in the ancient language. Having spent the last few days with Littletoad and the Zealots, McGeesy understood what would happen next. He would be sacrificed. The edge of the knife did not frighten him, but what Littletoad intended was far worse than death. His blood, the blood of the Ouijigan, was not to be sacrificed to the Wintermaker. No, it was meant to entice the sleeping sorcerer. The Takpai would rip his soul from his flesh so that the ancient spirit of the Wintermaker could take his flesh and wear it like a robe. Joseph Littletoad wanted a messianic figure to lead the people into a great war, and the Wintermaker would be his new god on earth. I thought I was the Thunderbird, destined to destroy him. I don't want to become him. McGeesy rolled his head away in anguish. Littletoad's hoarse voice continued singing a verse that McGeesy had never heard before from Nanak or Lily, and even though he did not understand the old language, he understood one of the words, which pierced his soul like a cold knife. The name of the Wintermaker. From the depths, a shadow moved, and the island felt as if it quivered. Just behind Littletoad, a dark shadow took the form of a human man, but when it took a step closer, it had the face of Father Garin. Then death flashed in his hand, killing Littletoad and a few of the others. Father Garin's pistols stopped on 2 surviving acolytes, but McGeesy could only watch in horror as the event spun out of control. Bushy Bill Morrison appeared, as if providing support, only to shoot down Graham, Father Garin, and the remaining acolytes. Father Garin's death had come so suddenly that when his body flopped down upon the ground near McGeesy, the priest's body was almost immediately lifeless. Get up. You can't be dead. You need to save me. Bushy Bill Morrison advanced, pistol ready. Nothing personal, kid. I'm just doing the job I was paid to do. I didn't want to kill the priest or Graham, but I couldn't let them be witness to this. Nor could I let this ritual continue. My people have been patient for far too long to let a crackpot like Littletoad steal the future away from us. You understand. Yes, it's not time. The Serpent Star will usher in 2 more eras, and then the battle will begin. Bushy Bill now stood over him, and with sympathetic eyes he lifted the pistol. McGeesy's eyes darted to the side, and he struggled against his bonds. The Takpai fed by the blood of the slain, had absorbed all the magic found in depth, and now doubled in density. Now no longer little figures the size of a dog, but looming monsters larger than a man. Bushy Bill Morrison had no clue, but the U.S. Marshal did sense the other threat, and when the hammer of a pheasant rifle clicked back, his eyes and pistol drifted away from the death blow. The red-headed white boy stood on the edge of the shadows, with his shotgun pointed at the back of Morrison. Bjorn Forsberg. Having been witness to the horror, the farm boy stepped out of the shadows to prevent McGeesy's cold-blooded murder. The young hero, however, had not counted on the shadows coming to life around him. "Run!" McGeesy screamed. Bushy Bill was preparing to shoot the fleeing farm boy in the back when black, oily hands grabbed a hold of him, and like a pack of wolf pups playing with a dead squirrel, the Tokpai tossed the body of Morrison into the air, batting it around for a short while as the man screamed in abject horror. His body was ripped limb from limb, bile and gore filling the air as pieces of his body landed in the branches and bushes surrounding the clearing. On the edge of the light, Bjorn Forsberg had disappeared, the shotgun resting where he'd dropped it before taking flight. Then the Tokpai closed in on him. McGeesy jerked his arms and legs violently, hoping the bonds would break, which they didn't. "Just kill me. Don't let me be the Omidai, please, please." When the oily hand touched his flesh, it felt cold as ice water, but then the sharp pain turned into a tingle of a leg that had fallen asleep. The tingling grew, a million tiny needles prickling in his flesh, and it all stopped. Am I dead? The Tokpai still held onto him, but now, is that my body? McGeesy saw his own miserable form, his heart still beating, lungs still breathing, pinned to the ground. Lake Manitou changed immediately. No longer was he on an island in a lake, but he stood atop a mountain with a deep ravine. At the bottom of the ravine, no longer hidden by sediment or muck, there was a rectangular shape and a doorway, and standing in the passage was a man, the Wintermaker. It wasn't supposed to end like this, McGeesy thought, desperate. "No, it isn't," the Wintermaker answered from the doorway. "What is this all about, children?" I agree. Chapter 70, The Elixir of Life. There's no turning back now. Lily held tight to the philosopher's stone in her lap as Fawn paddled hard for shore. "I see the light ahead," Fawn reported, "deep in the island." As soon as the nose of the canoe grated against the muck, Fawn was out, pulling the canoe forward another few feet so Lily could disembark. Looking down, Lily realized why the stone was so light. "It's holding on to me more than I'm holding on to it." Even in the darkness, she could see the color of the stone swirl with red, as if it had blood within it. A voice whispered in her brain, "Don't say it yet. Wait until they all gather." So Lily waited, letting Fawn help her out of the canoe so both of them could rush toward the faint light at the center of the island. Nothing could have prepared Lily for what she discovered. From the bile dripping from the trees to the scattered corpses illuminated by torch to her still brother tied to the earth in the middle of it all. Fawn was running, pausing only to step over a body before dropping beside McGeesy. "He's alive." Lily cautiously advanced but stopped when Fawn turned back around and gasped. Lily saw the black cassock. No. Rushing forward, she soon stood over the still body. His circular glasses were twisted in the sand, his eyes open, unblinking, his mouth slightly ajar as if death caught him by surprise. The philosopher's stone again rested on her thighs. "Don't let go. I'm the only thing that can save you now." Fawn turned from Magisi and joined Lily at the corpse of Father Garin. I'm pretty sure he's dead, Lily. He can't be dead. What about the apparitions? The little boy knew me as his great-grandmother. How can I become Lily Garin if he's... Lily? Fawn's voice turned into a grunt as black arms took hold of her and pulled her away like a leaf in the wind. No. The stone spoke again. Now, sing the song. I'm the only thing that can stop them. Lily opened her mouth, and the Takpai immediately paused their attack on Fawn upon hearing the first few words. The stone responded with a pulse of heat, wrapping itself around her fingers and over the top of her hands, merging the two of them together, the Firehandler and the Philosopher's Stone. Although the Takpai sensed the magic, they did not flee. The one holding Fawn flung her aside, with Fawn making a grunting noise as she hit the ground, followed by a slight moan. Unleash me, the stone said to Lily. These foul demons are no match for us. More syllables poured from her mouth, and the words written in the past and discovered in the future filled the air. The stone expanded from her lap and doubled in size until, with one punctuated note, the bubble burst and the stone transformed into liquid. Lily felt some of it gripping her hands, but the rest of it rose like steam from a boiling pot. What should I do now? Lily asked of it. It answered immediately. First, defend yourself. The vapor from the stone constricted it like a whip, lashed out at the closest Takpai, striking its flesh with such force that the oily creature lost its form, and it hurtled into the woods of the island. The other Takpai rushed at her, but the Philosopher's Stone responded like a blanket that wrapped around her, and then the snapping mouth of a serpent. As long as the two maintained contact, Lily and the stone became one, and acting as a spiritual and physical extension of her mind. One by one, the stone lashed out at the Takpai, until Lily secured the island. In the silence, Lily took measure of the scene. Fawn was unconscious but breathing. The only injury is a scrape to her right temple. Magisi also lived, but with her focused mind, the ties that bound him were dissolved away. But even freed, Magisi did not respond. Father Garin, however, did not move. He can't be dead. I need to save him. Don't worry about the priest, the stone soothed. His soul isn't going anywhere. These fools have woken my master, and now we must destroy him. Lily peered into the depths of Lake Manitou, and her eyes saw what once terrified her great-grandfather Shagobay. The roots of the water lily reached down to the depths, and there, the Wintermaker looked up at her. It wasn't a horned serpent or a water monster. It was the spirit of a man. You are not the one who woke me, the Wintermaker said to her across the void, yet you hold the key to my resurrection. Resurrection? Lily looked over at the cold body of Father Garin as the stone hummed. She'd seen the future, a future where she'd become Lily Garin. I'll have great-grandchildren. How do I protect that future? She pictured the faces of the children from her dream, the ones who shared her eyes. Of course they are my descendants. Two of them she knew, Levi and Joey. It was an accident. Yes, your voice woke my servants, didn't it? But it was not you who woke me. Why do you hold the key in your hand if you do not intend on freeing me? This wasn't supposed to happen, none of this. You're right, child. None of this was supposed to happen, not now at least. My hour has not yet come, yet here you are. He's afraid of us, the stone murmured. He knows we hold the knife to his throat. At her hesitance, it snapped. Use it. In the Seven Fires prophecy, the fate of mankind came down to a choice. One choice had been destruction, and the other would bring an eighth fire of peace and harmony. Free will mixed with fate. Lily had seen her future as an old woman, yet to reach it. A million decisions had to be made before destiny could arrive. If you haven't come to fight, the Wintermaker continued, then perhaps we can negotiate. We can pretend none of this happened, especially since I have something you might want. Two spirits appeared next to the Wintermaker, McGeesy and Garin. Lily looked at her little brother first. Unlike Father Garin, whose body was pale and lifeless, McGeesy still breathed. It's a trick, the stone said. Unsure, she looked around for help and saw Fawn. Her cousin's spirit sat beside her own unconscious body. In her hand, she held a glowing Migi shell, but her eyes were closed. I need help. Why isn't anyone helping me? Even the stone was silent now. It's a simple choice, Nu Shin. The loop must be closed. I have to do my part. I have to protect the future of the children, my children. Give him back to me. The Wintermaker smiled. The waters are filled with souls, some fresh and some old as the dawn. Be clear, what are you asking, child? In her dreams, both McGeesy and Father Garin had boldly sacrificed themselves like knights of old battling a dragon. Yet McGeesy still breathed, while Father Garin's body rested upon the cold sand. No adoption, no marriage, no Lily Garin. He can't be dead. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. The priest? The Wintermaker clarified, his smile widening. It's a bluff. McGeesy is fine. Yes, give Jean back to me. And why should I do that? Lily's anger grew. Yes, the stone whispered. Threaten him. He will understand the threat. Because I have the Philosopher's Stone, your precious key. I command it, and it obeys, and instead of using it to bring you back to life, I could use it to destroy the magic that protects you and cast you into the depths where you belong. You remind me of my daughter in some ways, the Wintermaker replied, a small, now genuine smile on his face. But in order to give you the soul of Garin, you must do your part. Only then can we negotiate. What part? Lily wondered. The stone knew. We must heal his body first. I can help. I can give this to you. Even though her hands never touched him, Lily nevertheless felt Garin's cold flesh through the Philosopher's Stone, and 1,000 little needles went into motion. Chapter 71, Rekindling of Old Flames. Fawn Chevril dreamt of the boy Ayash standing on the island the horned serpent left awake in the water of the channel between the safety of the mainland. On the mainland, she was surrounded by animals that stepped out of the forest as if answering the boy's call. A large buck, a bald eagle, a black raven, a sly fisher cat, a spotted loon, a brilliantly white crane, a muddy catfish, and a massive bear. This is the beginning, Ayash said to her from the other side of the channel. Before you can save me, you have to reach the end of the journey. Isn't this the 7th stopping place? Her hold tightening on the Migi shell she'd found on the mud of the blue knife. It is the 7th stopping place, but it is not the end of the journey. The horns of the water serpent shot away from the channel and out into the depths of the open sea. As soon as they vanished, the water of the channel boiled until a dark object appeared. As it rose, water poured off the rounded surface. Finally, Fawn understood what she saw. A massive turtle, its shell covered in sediment and moss, as if it lay dormant for 1,000 years. For you to reach me, you must find the place on the shell where the water divides, Ayash instructed. Do you see the place? Fawn saw a tiny light. In fact, The closer she looked at the shell, the more detail it revealed, until it became obvious that she looked at the landscape of the continent. She was sitting on the edge of the shell and looked at the island where Ayash waited. Behind her, rivers were flowing off the back of the turtle that looked like the St. Lawrence, the Mississippi, and the Red River. Even farther behind her, she saw the ridge of the turtle's back, as if high mountains, and there, hidden in the ridges, she saw the light referenced by Ayash. What is it? You must rekindle the flame before you can show the others how to retrace the path back to me. You must light the way for them in their darkest hour. Do you remember what you were told at the cave? She did. Lily is about to doom us all, for in victory she will bring defeat. Levi asked for help, her help. The boy Ayash also came for her help. Can you do this? I must rekindle the flame. Yes, she said, her eyes fixed on the tiny point of light until it was the only thing she could see. I must help them in their darkest hour. Good. As she passed from dream to consciousness, the light remained as she opened her eyes. Back on Deadwood Island, the light transformed into a lantern, and the man who held it had a kind face and a beard that ringed his jaw but left his mouth shaved clean. There's a girl over here. She's alive. I'm alive? But how? It was still dark, yet the nightmares seemed over, for the singing had stopped, and the living shadows had vanished. Fawn's eyes studied the tree above her and its twisted branches. Another face appeared to loom over her, a white boy's face. Hi, you're safe now, I think. She knew the boy, but the throbbing in her skull kept the name from reaching her tongue. What happened? I don't know, we just got here. Albert Fisher, that was the boy's name. Over the last few weeks, he'd come to the school to speak with Lily, and, oh God. Fawn sat up, bringing twice as much pain to her head. She remembered how the devils had tossed her around, and then how Lily's voice cut the darkness like a sword. Before that, she'd been at the side of McGeesy and had seen the lifeless body of Father Guerin. It can't be true. Father Guerin is... Her words failed her when she saw Father Guerin sitting up with Bjorn Forsberg and Martin Nielsen flanking him. Although quite shaken, Father Guerin looked very much alive. What? How? Hold still, sweetheart, Farrell Looning said to Fawn. Let me look at your head. As Farrell tended to the bloody spot on the back of her head, pain and nausea churned in her gut. I don't understand. Father Guerin was opening his shirt, revealing his pale chest unblemished. If not for the hole in his cassock and shirt, Fawn might have believed it was all to be a nightmare. What has Lily done? Once Farrell Looning finished his examination, he rose to his feet, and in doing so revealed another baffling scene. Lily was alive, sitting on the ground with McGeesy cradled in her lap, his head against her chest. His eyes were closed, and he appeared unharmed. Kermit Crane sat beside her with a hand on her shoulder as she wept. Help me up. I need to see Lily, Fawn demanded. When she stood, she saw spots so intense that it felt as if the talk pie had rushed in for another attack. Easy, Albert whispered, still holding her hand. The door won't open? No. Okay. Catching her breath, she looked around to the canopy of trees illuminated by the lanterns. There was no sign of water spirit, the Tokpai, or the sinister Wintermaker, although still just as spooky. The island seemed inert. What then? A new horror presented itself. She looked to the side of the ritual where the Ouija-Gun acolytes and Joseph Littletoad had gathered around a prone McGeesy to perform the Song of the Manitou. Not only were the bodies gone, but not a drop of blood remained. But it had happened. Even the body of Bushy Bill Morrison had vanished. The answer to it all rested at Lily's feet, the water drum. To Lily, please. Fawn put her weight on Albert's shoulder as Father Garen's private search party congealed together. Lily was focusing on nothing but McGeesy, and Father Garen remained transfixed on his chest. Nearing him, she could hear his mumbling. I saw it, he said to Martin Nielsen. Once my soul left my body, I saw all of them, dozens and dozens of souls trapped in the waters of Lake Manitou. All the stories are true, but at the bottom of it all, I saw the great dragon himself. Fawn had seen it too, but only the beginning. It's the wounded head, Father Garen said, gripping Nielsen's arm. It's right out of Scripture. I saw the wounded head, which was healed. His hand returned to his exposed chest, studying the miracle again. I don't. Seeing Fawn, Father Garen stopped speaking and used the others for help to stand. Wordlessly, they all gathered around Lily and McGeesy. I don't know what to do, Lily whispered. Where did they go, Lily? Fawn asked sharply. Lily looked at the philosopher's stone at her feet. I used all the magic I knew to put them back to sleep. I fixed all the mistakes I've made but one. I thought it was just a bluff. What's wrong with him? Martin Nielsen asked. They took him, Lily said, shaking her head. They took hold of McGeesy and pulled him down to the depths. Everything happened so quickly. He was unharmed, and Father Garen, you were... I'm here now, Lily. I'm here now, Lily, Father Garen said, kneeling down beside her to hold one of her hands. Tell us what we need to do. I don't know. Someone is coming, Farrell Luding called out, gesturing to the west. Bjorn Forsberg stepped forward with his shotgun, and Kermit holding a long curved blade. Albert, go fetch my pistol, Father Garen commanded, standing. Fawn watched as two birch-bark canoes approached from the northwest. Even before the uplifted noses of the canoes slid on the shore, she knew the dark silhouettes, Pierre Leduc and Blackfish Labiche. Both men hopped from the canoes and walked to Lily. The introductions and explanations were brief, and the attention quickly turned to Lily and McGeesy. They took his soul, Lily said, despondent, and I don't know how to put it back. Let's get everyone back to the school, Luning said. When Leduc and Blackfish didn't respond. Your brother has been through quite an ordeal. Let's get him in front of a fire. No. Dreams of Ayash stuck on the island filled her mind, along with the animals that waited on the shore. It's a sign. It must be. This is my part. This is how I'll help Ayash. No, Fawn said out loud. I think I know where he is and what we must do. Everyone, including Lily, looked at her. So she told them her dream. What's going on? Chapter 72, The Asante Club. The Manitou is real. Kermit Crane sat, a slight smile on his face, his curved castration knife upon his lap as he watched the ritual begin.
She had one little poop nugget in her bed.
Who?
Sansa.
What?
Yeah. Just one little one, like that big.
And whatever.
So, see you at church?
Mm-hmm.
Let's put the stone out.
They now gathered on Turtle Island, which was an island by a few inches of water, connected by a peninsula to Martin Nielsen's land. A fire burned at the center, illuminating all of them. Hastily hewn pine branches marked the foundation of a roofless lodge, with the team of believers sitting inside. Martin Nielsen sat at the western door, with Bjorn Forsberg, Albert Fischer, and Farrell Lunings sitting along the southern wall. Fawn Chevril, Father Garin, Lily, and himself sat along the northern wall. McGeesy's body rested on one side of the fire, and the Philosopher's Stone rested opposite of it. Outside of the bow foundation, Pierre Leduc and Blackfish guarded the eastern door, just as Fawn insisted. Ironically, although Kermit had been the first to see the Manitou months earlier, he'd missed most of what had happened on Deadwood Island. It must have been pretty scary, though. The evidence was on their faces. Bold Lily had seemingly deflated with an outpouring of tears as they traveled toward the island, and Father Garen's hands had not stopped trembling since they sat. Fawn Chevril's wide eyes looked like a gopher about to be snatched up by a hawk. Even stern Bjorn Forsberg looked shaken, his wrinkled forehead creased. "What happened?" Kermit had asked Bjorn privately as they rowed across the lake to Turtle Island. "I saw him die," Bjorn said, glancing over at Father Garen. "Now the others are gone, and he's alive." They who? Kermit had been watching the storm when Martin Nielsen rode by, looking for help. Instead of finding armed Indians, he and Martin arrived on the island to find weeping and chaos. Albert and Farrell had heard the shooting too, but not a body remained to be found, except for an unconscious McGeesy. "Now what?" Lily asked, sniffling. Fawn answered calmly. "We need to sanctify this place. Use the water drum to cleanse it from the magic of the Mittermaker. The Great Spirit, your God, has brought us here today to fight against evil. First begin with that." Lily opened her mouth, and the words that came out sounded more angelic than human. The stone responded and pulsed if alive. It transformed from solid into liquid. For a moment, Kermit lifted his knife, thinking the stone might transform into the water serpent, its rivulets flowing out like fingers. Then the liquid transformed into vapor, and Lily's words sent it out into the darkness of the island. 11 of them gathered upon the rocky ridge of the island, just as Fawn had insisted, to fight a final battle before the break of dawn. Already the stars were beginning to diminish, and a glow began to appear in the east. I used to just be worried about Pawsrath. The vapor returned to the fire. "I'm finished," Lily whispered. "Is there a song of protection?" Fawn asked. "Yes." "Then sing it, marking all of us. We are the ones who will stand against the Wintermaker. All of us together." Lily nodded, and the ritual continued. This is good. Kermit remembered the occult ritual he'd observed at Flat Rock the previous year. Although his family didn't believe him about a secret society in St. John, perhaps now he'd found a pool of believers that would. Good versus evil. Kermit paused as the vapor passed over him. Whatever it was, the Philosopher's Stone did not seem to be something made by God, and as a result, it felt sinister, even if Lily was using it for good. "It can't hurt me. Us, right?" At the end of the second song, Lily breathed heavily. "Now what?" "Now, you go find your brother." Lily crumbled, looking away. "I don't even know what that means," Fawn hissed. "Yes, you do. You've driven the Tokpai back into slumber, and you've thwarted the Wintermaker, closing him back in his hole. Little Chode tried to offer McGeesy as an Omadai, a vessel for the taking. He's down in the depths, lost with the other spirits. Call out to the spirits. Ask them for aid in finding your brother." Lily nodded and began to sing. The Place of Souls, Kermit reflected. Since his attack, he'd picked up every book on Indians he could get his hands on, reading all the legends of the Chippewa and the Sioux. Before the Chippewa settled along the Blue Knife, the Sioux once held the area, and instead of Lake Manitou, they called it Monagiata. It's always been cursed. The evil that slumbered went beyond cultures. The answers were in the distant past. If the tales were true, the Sioux had a band of warriors sworn to guard the area, the Santee. In some books, they were known as the Isinyathi, or the Guardians of the Frontier. Yet Kermit found a third spelling of the same band, Isanti, which meant people of the knife. He looked down at the knife he held and smiled. Guardians, the Blue Knife River, Lake Manitou, place of souls. This is my destiny. I meant to be part of this group. Kermit jumped along with the other when McGeesy abruptly began to swing his arms and kick his legs, all while taking deep breaths, like that of a drowning victim. Both Father Guerin and Lily left their spots, rushing forward to hold him. I don't even know what we just did, but it obviously worked. McGeesy opened his eyes, twisting his head to look around at those surrounding him. Terror filled his eyes. Fawn reached out to hold his hand. You're safe now, Lily soothed, crying tears of relief. He's seen the Manitou. I know the look in his eyes. From outside the lodge, Blackfish declared, We should return. The sun is coming up, and soon the world will also wake up. Lily nodded, and everyone began to rise, including McGeesy, who sat up with his own strength. With squinted eyes, he looked around at those gathered around him, and when answers became obvious, he looked at Lily with abject horror. What did you do? We saved him, we saved you, little brother. No, I was there. I was with the Widowmaker. I heard you. You picked him. McGeesy shoved her away when she reached for him, disgust on his face. I fixed everything, she replied, her voice breaking. You're fine. I knew you were strong. I knew you'd fight. Look, Father Guerin's fine. We won the day. You're here now. McGeesy shook. How could you? You left me down there. He pushed away Father Guerin when he reached for him, tripping on the boughs as he left the lodge. He headed to Pierre Leduc. I want to go home. I think we all need to go home to sort this out, Father Guerin declared, putting a comforting hand on Lily's shoulder. Kermit wanted to comfort Lily too, but she buried her face in Father Guerin's chest when McGeesy ran off. In the silence, no one else knew what to do. He watched the group begin to divide, with some returning east to Split Rock and the rest returning north to the school. Kermit decided to walk with Martin Nielsen. Well, that was the strangest night of my life, Nielsen declared, tussling Kermit's hair. I suppose we're not going to talk about this to other folks, Kermit said. My family wouldn't believe me either. Anyway, I don't think my wife will either. You can come talk with me about any time you want, but yes, I think we should keep this to ourselves for the time being. For a while, Kermit watched the high ground toward Old Copper Road, which would take him home to Sterling Junction. But then he heard the angry call of ravens. When he stopped, he could see them circling above a tree in the ravine. A willow tree. Chapter 73, Weaving a Web. Jean-Nicolas Guerin stood with his hands on his hips as the delegation of politicians and Indian agents left the school. They think the war is over. It's only begun. He turned, reviewing all he had built. Dozens of children were safe inside a school to protect them from all sorts of dangers. Even though conflict at Leech Lake had dissipated, the victory was hollow. I shouldn't be here right now. Why am I even alive? He turned to the superintendent's office where another conflict waited to be resolved. Opening the door, he found his two closest allies. Lily Weber sat cross-legged on the corner chair, the soiled cassock still draped over her legs. In her fingers, she held a needle and thread, ready to patch the bullet hole in the back of the jacket. She'd claimed it without asking. Paul Whitewolf stood at the window of his office. Looking out at the delegation that was departing. Now what am I supposed to do? What can I say? So now what? Whitewolf asked, his gaze still fixed outward. Lily glanced to Whitewolf and then over to him. Collapsing in a chair, Garen looked up at the ceiling. Now the war will be waged by newspaper writers, politicians, and lawyers, but for all intents and purposes, the Battle of Sugar Point is over. Winter has a way of cooling tensions, and by spring, the government, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and the tribal leaders will fight from behind tables. A truce doesn't mean victory, but it does mean there's a little hope. Whitewolf grunted, causing Giant to look at him. He shook his head before glancing at Lily. No, Jean. Now what? The kiss. Long before swearing his vows, Jean had known self-control. In the Philippines, he'd been offered the daughters of a mountain chief, and in Cuba, he had a flock of girls that followed him wherever he went. Even in the quiet moments of the balcony, as the two had smiled and laughed, he knew how to ignore the feelings he had for the beautiful young woman. Now the smiles and laughter were gone, and the trauma of recent events blanketed them all. More than once in recent days, Lily had crossed the line with her feelings. If he stayed much longer, he'd not be able to resist her. Jean looked to Lily, who kept her eyes to the hole in the jacket where Bushy Bill Morrison had taken his life. Now, Jean no longer wore his priestly collar. Now he too had feelings. Jean cleared his throat. A strategy? Is that what you want to discuss? Whitewolf shifted but did not answer. Well, we need to focus on defense. Our enemies have been revealed. We know their weaknesses now, as well as what they're waiting for. We have a decade before Halley's Comet, the Serpent Star, returns to us. And in that time, we're going to turn Turtle Islet Jesuit School the preeminent center for indigenous studies in the United States, while we compare the legends of the Philosopher's Stone with the tales of the Water Drum. 2 weeks had passed since the Battle of Sugar Point began, and the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, the Minnesota National Guard, and local militias were all ordered home. A council of chiefs free from the taint of Little Toad won more than a military victory, which is what Jean's Jesuit superiors informed him moments earlier. My mission succeeded, so what has Paul upset? You still don't understand, Whitewolf answered. Those men came today to tell us the conflict between the Chippewa and the government is over. Politicians are changing policy about reservations and land rights. If I'm being optimistic, I'd even guess that some of what was lost might be given back. Yes, that's what I heard too. Is there a problem? What does he want from me? Your assignment here is over, Jean. It's a matter of weeks before your Jesuit superiors realize it and call you back while you're talking about waiting for a comet to come in another 10 years. No one else would understand what I've seen. No one else could protect this family. You heard McGeesey. There's no denying the Serpent Star is anything other than Halley's Comet, and it's returning soon. The Society of Jesus is going to send for you. Your time here at the school is over, while everyone else, marked by Lily, can stay here and wait for the coming storm. Your official mission here is complete. Plus, EOS has wised up to your strategy. Triton will find better politicians. How can I leave when I still understand so little about them? I know the truth about this place, but why do my enemies... But what do my enemies want with it? Lily was closing the hole in the back of the jacket. White Wolf was standing with arms crossed, waiting. Can he see the obvious truth? I've already made my choice, Paul. When I was up at Bear Island, I could have stayed with Chief Sweatingstone and the other tribal leaders to help them through the crisis, but instead, I chose to follow Littletoad in order to save McGeesee. When I drew my pistol on Deadwood Island, I effectively resigned my position in the Jesuit order. Ironically, I've never believed more than I do now, and I'm no longer a part of the church. White Wolf shook his head. That doesn't work. Staying here will only draw suspicion. Without an explanation, the Catholic Church and the Jesuits will see it as a betrayal, and our enemies, like Triton, will know you've learned something significant. Our superiors won't allow you to stay under these circumstances. Lily looked at him with panicked eyes. I've been part of 3 active conflicts in the past 5 years, Jean countered. I've been shot and stabbed twice. I'm lucky to be alive, so I'll invent some story about needing to clear my head and soothe my nerves at a haunted lake. Fine, then I'll play the altruistic angle. I'll gush about how much I enjoy the school and how I found a new love in education. I'll stay as a teacher or administrator. Your idea for a school was a stroke of genius, allowing me to be here, but as much as I'd like you by my side, the periphery is not going to allow you to stay if they've got me. Your presence will be red flags for all to see. How can I leave Lily after all this? A small globe sat on the corner of Paul White Wolf's desk, and Jean swept it off so violently that when it crashed to the floor, it broke free from its axis and rolled all the way over to the door. Then what do you suggest, Paul? I was all but born in the periphery, and when I was Lily's age, I joined the Jesuits at the request of my superiors. The head custodian himself told me I was born for this assignment. The periphery understands my true loyalties and the importance of... Lily had given his jacket. A dramatic snap. In silence, she stood and walked over from her spot to the corner and over to where he sat. Lily, His heart raced as she drew near. She shook her head, folding the long riding jacket into quarters before setting it down on his lap. She leaned over and kissed him on the cheek. There's only one path now, she turned to Paul to say. He can stay for love. Jean dropped his head to his hands. When he looked up, only White Wolf remained, but his eyes were wide. His eyes were wide, but not in condemnation. Lily's right. A scandal would be believed. Tender your resignation from the Jesuit order, and then, as a private citizen, buy a small plot of land nearby. You can't stay at the school, but we need you to shepherd us through the days to come, even in an unofficial capacity. So, am I staying for the periphery or for love? Chapter 74, Miss Weber. When the bell rang, ending Lily Weber's hour of grammar lessons, she stood in front of her desk to collect the assignments after the students left. Despite her instructions, the sheets were handed to her in all manners of angles, leaving an unkempt pile. The instructions about grammar books were also ignored, with some left wide open, one knocked to the floor, and yet one book remained exactly where it had been set prior to the period. McGeesee's spot. How do I fix my brother? As if noticing the same book, Fawn cleared her throat as she walked forward to turn in her assignment. You know where he is? Fawn nodded. He's down by the river again. He shouldn't be skipping school. I thought we were past all of this. I heard some of the boys talking about his nightmares and wetting the bed. It's gotten worse since Father Guerin left. Do you want me to tell Superintendent Whitewolf? No. But do you mind coming with me? He'll at least speak to you. Fawn smiled. Absolutely. Walking out of the building, Lily was greeted by a cool autumn day with drifts of maple leaves blowing across the yard and a blanket of gray over their heads. They found McGeesy on the southern border of the school. He sat on the bluff, sharpening his knife, looking down at the still reservoir created by the Nicollet Dam. The construction workers hired by Triton built a log chute that ran from the outlet of the dam to the waiting lake. If he's afraid, do I lie to him to help him through this? Why are you sharpening a knife? Her brother grunted. Because it makes me feel better. Lily could smell the urine on her brother, and combined with his messy hair, her brother looked a mess. I still need you to be part of the Asante Club. That's a stupid name, McGeesy said bitterly. Why did you pick a Dakota word? Kermit chose the word. Kermit didn't stab the Manitou. I've seen the real thing. The Wintermaker isn't some giant snake swimming in the water. It's down in the depths, waiting. And we defeated him, Lily boasted. Did we? McGeesy snapped bitterly. Your story doesn't make sense, too. Especially the part about Father Guerin. I saw him get killed. When she looked at Fawn, her cousin shared the same wrinkled brow. Neither of them knows what really happened. I'm not a sorceress. I don't understand how any of this works. I still don't even know what I said. When Fawn and I got to the island, we found you unconscious and Jean wounded. I just let my heart guide me from that point. When her brother scoffed, Lily added, I was given help, McGeesy. Is that what you want to hear? Apparitions guided your stupid sister in my fight against the Wintermaker. Fawn came to her aid then. I was there when that happened. There was a boy with snakeskin boots and a woman with a deformed face and others who came to help. McGeesy shook his head. How do you know you can trust them? They saved your life and Jean's life, Lily countered, frustrated. How can I not trust them? Now listen to me, McGeesy. I know you're scared, but I'm not scared. Don't argue. Don't tear him down. Build him up. You're right, McGeesy. I didn't defeat the Wintermaker. He turned, his eyes filled with concern. I used the power of the water drum against its maker, but I only delayed the inevitable. Nana Conan was right. The Wintermaker will only get stronger, and when the Serpent Star returns, the Tokpai will wake, and the real battle will begin. McGeesy softened. Is that why Father Guerin left? No, that's not. He just moved off campus. He bought the Bordeaux farm. South of Split Rock, because he's going to help us finish the fight. You know when the Serpent Star is coming, don't you? Yeesey nodded. Nanak told me all about it. Mr. Whitewolf says it is Halley's Comet, and that it'll be here in 1910. 12 years from now. Do you know what we're going to do in those 12 years? The Asante Club is going to prepare. We're going to train. We're going to learn. We're going to prepare ourselves for battle with the Horned Serpent, just like Nana Conan would have wanted. You believed you were the great Thunderbird, and I need you to play that role for us. What role? You are going to be trained to be a warrior. We've found the sacred water drum, and once we find the sacred shell and learn how to light the sacred fire, we'll be able to defeat the Wintermaker once and for all. Your sister's right, McGeesy, Fawn added. I had a vision of you. It's how we knew how to pull you back up from the depths. I saw Ayash trapped on an island with the horned serpent swimming around it. But I also saw a large buck, a bald eagle, a black raven, a sly fisher cat, a spotted loon, and a brilliantly white crane, and a muddy catfish, and a massive bear. I don't understand what... Fawn explained. Fawn is the deer. You are the eagle. Father Garin is the raven. The fisher cat is Martin Nielsen. The loon is Farrell Looning. The white crane is Kermit Crane. The muddy catfish is Albert Fisher. And the massive bear is Bjorn Forsberg. Together we can defeat the Wintermaker. I thought I was the boy on the island. You were, but you're also the eagle, the great thunderbird. Now do you see? We need you to learn all you can from Paul Whitewolf and get strong for what's coming. You'll be a strong warrior when evil rises, and with your help, we'll fulfill our destiny and send the Wintermaker into the land of the midnight sun where he belongs. So what part do you play? McGeesy asked. Lily shrugged. I'm the Firehandler, the one who plays the water drum. I have made a terrible mistake when I sang the Song of the Manitou. The next time, I'll be prepared. We will all be prepared. Lily watched her brother ponder it for several minutes. He began to nod before finally saying, Even though I think you're stupid sometimes, you're still my sister. I'll protect you. I know you will. Lily gave her brother a kiss on the cheek. You'll always be my hero. She gave him a little push, adding, Now go back to class where you belong. McGeesy put away his knife and picked up his turtle shell shield. Coming? Lily and I are going to talk for a bit, Fawn said. McGeesy isn't the only one with questions, apparently. Fawn waited until McGeesy was far enough away before she commented. With McGeesy on one side and Jean on the other, no wonder you lived to be an old lady. I wish I had guys willing to fight and die for me. Lily chuckled sadly. Oh, Fawn, what am I supposed to do now? You need to go talk to Jean. And say what? It doesn't matter whether you come right out and tell him you love him or just flirt around the truth. It's your destiny, isn't it? There's no changing it. I think he already knows, Lily said. Even so, you need to be careful, Lily. I worry that your future is more fragile than you think. McGeesy is right. How do you know you're not being misled? Not you two. Why do you say that? What is it you think we saw the night Father Garin died, when we were here at the river? I saw the future, Lily answered. Is it lying if it is a half-truth? There have been clues for quite a while now. The time I saw the young man under the willow, the little girl on the bridge, the old woman off the shore of Turtle Island, especially when we came to look for the stone. These apparitions were not ghosts, they were visitors from the future. That's why I thought I could trust them. They came from the future to set me on the right path, but in talking to them, I realized something. That old lady, she was me. You saw yourself? After Nanak and my parents died, I prayed. I didn't know what to do, and an old version of myself answered. How old? Lily asked. Why does it matter? Could you have been over 100? Lily smirked. Considering how wrinkled and hideous she looked, yeah, I guess she could be that old. Lily lowered her head. I think the young man in the snakeskin boots is my grandchild. Fawn shook her head. Something is wrong. She suspects something. Why do you say that? While you were in the water retrieving the stone, I spoke with the apparition, the boy in the snakeskin boots. He said something strange. He said that your victory will actually be a defeat. What do you think he meant? He knows. Did he try to warn Fawn from the future? The only thing I know is that my victory ensured that there would be children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. If I failed, everything would have been destroyed. But if we're going to fight the Wintermaker in just 12 years, why is it that an old woman visited your dreams? In 12 years, the boy in the snakeskin boots won't be born yet. Were you lying to McGeesy about facing the Wintermaker when the comet comes again? Lily laughed. I'm going to go insane trying to understand all this. All I know is that with the comet, the Wintermaker grows stronger. But if we can all stay together, we have enough time to fight them. We held together, didn't we? We saved Jean and McGeesey, and do you trust me, Fawn? Fawn nodded. Then what do I do? You're done teaching for the day. Instead of grading papers, just go talk to him. I can't stop the comet from coming, nor can I undo what I've done. All right, Lily decided. You're right. I really don't have a choice now. What happens will happen. I'll go talk to Jean. Epilogue. Good Counsel. Split Rock, Minnesota, 1961. The ringing phone startled Albert Fisher, stealing him from an old memory. By the second ring, he realized it was not the main house phone in Eunice's parlor, but the one in his office, the private line. With a groan, he rose from the plush chair and slipped his feet into his slippers, which still held the warmth given off by the fireplace. Has something happened? Is that why I heard sirens earlier? He passed by the grandfather clock in the long hall, noting that it was well past midnight. Fumbling for the lights in the den, he reached the phone by the sixth ring. He cleared his throat and answered, Yes? The caller was breathing heavily. Albert, it's Ed Nielsen. I just returned from a house fire. No more tragedies. Yes, I heard the sirens and saw the lights going south. Whose house? Ed Nielsen hesitated. The Guerin farm. It was Lily's house. Impossible. That can't be. How is she? She's been burned badly, and so was her son Louis when he rushed in to get her out. Glenn Forsberg worries she might not live through the night. As soon as we got back to the house fire, he drove out to the hospital in Brainerd. He'll be calling to give you an update. Yes, I understand. I'm just struggling to understand what it means. I'll leave those questions for you to figure out. I just knew you had to hear it right away. You did well, Edward. What about her grandchildren? They were in the big house, and the fire didn't affect it. There is one more thing. The girl, Nicole, she told Forsberg there were some sinister-looking men that stopped by earlier in the day to speak to Lily. The girl was hysterical, but she thinks they were responsible for the fire. Servants of the Wintermaker. I'll look into it and see what I can learn. I already called Wally Crane. I'll have him call you in the morning once he looks into it. Is there anything else you need me to do? Lily can't die. It's too early. Albert, do you need me to do anything from me? No, thank you, Ed. It's late. I'm sure you're exhausted. Get some sleep. I'll gather the others for a meeting tomorrow after supper. He paused. Please, pray for Lily. After the call ended, Albert had to steady himself against the desk. How can we go on without her? If she dies, how can... He shook off the sphere. I must have faith she'll survive. He reached for the heart of the oak crucifix that had been given to him by Farrell Looning long ago. Holding it over his heart, he prayed for Lily Guerin and also for himself. He knew what slept in Lake Manitou and who protected them from it. Holding the wooden pendant brought back another old memory. Could it be now? Is she going to be waiting for me? Outside the windows of his mansion, a majestic willow stood as a shadow against a soft glow of the Split Rock streetlights. Nothing remained of Good Counsel Convent, even though Albert had reused the old brick to help build his mansion on the retired property. The old willow tree had rotted and died, only to be replaced by one he'd personally propagated and grown from the original. Since attaining maturity a decade earlier, visiting it had become part of his routine. He slipped on a jacket and quietly stepped outside. Above his head, the stars filled the night sky, obscuring the tiny point of light from Halley's Comet. He'd seen it brush by Earth in 1910, when it brought death and mayhem to Lake Manitou. It's turning around, and it's coming back, but it won't return for another 2 decades. How can Lily die? It's not time. Under the willow, he found his folding chair, where he once again waited for the promised loop to close. You were there for me, my old friend, and now I'll be there for you. It was an old thought that he reminded himself of countless times. But on the night where Lily's life again hung in the balance, everything felt aligned. This time, he reached up and grabbed a handful of willow branches. Moments later, when the willow branches moved and parted, Albert didn't flinch, but the face did not belong to Lily. Who are you? A young man wore the black slouch hat that once belonged to Big Squeak Weber, and he carried the curved crustacean that belonged to Kermit Crane. Whoa, you're Albert Fisher. Do I know you? No, you've been dead for years. She told me you'd be here, but I didn't think I'd actually find you here. I'm Levi McPherson, Lily Garen's great-grandson. Lily sent you to me? No, she doesn't even know that Hey, do you know anything about Robin? She told me all about the Omadai. Omadai? Albert shook his head. No, who is she? Not really sure. She's been haunting my dreams lately, so I'm not even sure if she's real. But she obviously knew about you. I'm supposed to give you a message. She said that someone betrays us to the Wintermaker, and now he is trying to attack the past. Something about loops. She said that without Lily protecting the lake, the loops can be broken and the future destroyed. How? What am I supposed to do? This is some heavy stuff, isn't it? Levi smirked. First, Robin said you need to stay under the willow until Lily comes. I'm not even sure how long that means. But then Robin said you face the Manitou Wintermaker at a place where you almost died. She said life and death will hang in the balance. Got it? The sawmill. How could I forget? I'm supposed to wait here for Lily. I'd like to talk more, but I think Lily's coming. Good luck, Albert. I'll be reading for you from the future. I have to assume you'll remember all this, otherwise I won't exist, will I? Levi cut a few branches from the tree, looked around cautiously before calling out, Lily? He must have heard something, for with a nod, Levi vanished into the darkness. In the distance, Albert heard Lily's voice calling out. A moment later, she stepped under the willow, young and beautiful still. You finally come. Lily's eyes widened at his words. Who are you? He almost rushed to hug her, to tell her everything that happened to Jean Guerin, Fawn Chevril, Kermit Crane, Bjorn Forsberg, Martin Nielsen, and Farrell Luning. If I tell her, she could change things. She could stop their deaths if she knew about the details. Albert opened his mouth in a moment of weakness and then closed it again. The boy was trying to warn me. I need to close the loop. He knows. Omadai. Excuse me? Lily asked. The children are still in danger. I'm a fool to believe I was the Omadai. I was marked from birth and brought to this cursed place as the main course for a feast. I've been trying to fight my death my whole life, and now at the end, I'm fighting death another way. They always say it's darkest before the dawn. I was beginning to think you weren't going to come. She's so young and beautiful, and now she's dying of burns in a hospital. I'm afraid, Lily. I need your help. I need you to find me. I found you here, right now, Lily whispered. I don't understand. Close a loop. Create a loop. Albert lifted his free hand and brushed aside the thin white hair on his scalp to reveal a birthmark. When you sang the song, you not only woke enemies, but you also called allies. We'll save the children together. I'm no longer afraid. Albert? There's so much I want to tell you, sweet Lily. I could stop all your pain with a word. Yes, now go make your dream catcher, and then we'll talk more about turning the tides of battle. You've lost enough. Now it's time for you to start fighting. Albert let go of the willow fronds, and Lily vanished into the past. I'm sorry, Lily, so sorry. The Winter Maker was waiting.
Postlude. The Two-Faced Terror. Brainerd, Minnesota. May 2029. Robin Berg stared into the eyes of hell. Or at least that's who she assumed visited her dreams. After the visit from the Raven at school, the world of Hiawatha County stayed right where it belonged, in her dream journal. She had boldly rescued it from oblivion several hours earlier when she stormed back into Mr. Allen's classroom to snatch it away from the kid who took her spot in the front row. Now, the dream journal rested on her end table while she left the harsh world of her reality to visit her imaginary friends in Hiawatha County. Instead of heroic Lily, bold Fawn, or noble McGeesee, a horrific face floated up from the dark abyss for a visit. In Norse mythology, Hel wasn't a place but a person. The daughter of the trickster god, Hel, or Hela, also lived in a frozen hell like Minnesota, albeit a bit colder. The ruler of the dead was easily identified. Half of her face was that of a beautiful young maiden, while the other half of her visage was a rotting corpse. The Raven is real, Hela whispered. Everyone else heard it, didn't they? You're not crazy. You're special. I don't know you, Robin answered the face that visited from Never Never Land. Why have I never dreamed about you before? I'm the last one, Hela answered. Your mind began with Nana Conan and is working its way through the years. You'll find me at the end of it all. They keep trying and failing to kill me, and this time I'm going to make them pay. Will you be my vengeance, Robin? They destroyed my world, so I will destroy theirs. Don't bullies suck? Robin mused, unafraid. The real monsters lived in the dank locker rooms and meth kitchens of her world. Her imaginary goddess of death didn't frighten her. In fact, Hela's pink scar tissue held no maggots, nor did the empty eye socket contain any slithering snakes. Just smooth skin where an eyeball should have been. Wait, I know you. You're the one who taught Lily the song, weren't you? Oh, I get it. You're wearing a Baltimore Ravens sweatshirt. Edgar Allan Poe's hometown. So that was you that crashed into the glass earlier today? I think I'm dying under the willow, and the only way to contact you was through a raven, Hela explained. Ravens are messengers, remember? That's cool, Robin said. It sure explains all my dreams about Lily. And now I need your help to stop Lily from destroying the world. Is that all? Robin teased. I mean, I know I'm dreaming right now. I know you're not real. You're right. You're either crazy or a hero. Which would you rather be? Robin laughed. You forget the option where I do the bidding of the goddess of death and become the villain who destroys the world? I have a hard time believing Lily is a villain. If I could convince you that Hiawatha County is real, along with all the people you know and love who live within it, would you trust me then? Just don't make me do anything that'll make them put me on meds, okay? I like hiding from the real world in Hiawatha County. How am I supposed to find you? Or Lily? Use your dream journal, Hela answered. Hiawatha County is not imaginary. It's just hidden. If you can find it, you'll know where to find me. Under the willow. Once Robin woke from her dream, her hand quickly found her phone and the dream journal to jot down what Hella had just told her. Once she was done scribbling it down, she pulled up Google Maps and followed the line of Highway 10 west into the green expanse of nothingness. South of Nimrod, a green blob labeled Lions State Forest mocked the idea of finding the mysterious Lake Manitou. It's just not real. But it was worth taking a look. The end. The Dreamcatcher Chronicles will continue with Book 2, The Winter Maker.